Dorian Blake, a brilliant but eccentric book hunter and self-confessed bibliomaniac, heads the small firm Blake & Associates Literary Investigations in San Francisco. From their loft-style office on Clementina Street, Dorian and his teammates track missing manuscripts, authenticate dubious discoveries, and navigate a shadow world of collectors, auction sharks, and occult bibliophiles. Each case is a mystery whose solution hinges on deep book lore, forensic bibliography, and treacherous human motives. Faded ink, fresh blood. A Dorian Blake Codex Chronicles mystery. Galley in a garage. The Craigslist photograph showed nothing but jumble. A buckled steamer trunk, a chipped Remington noiseless, cardboard boxes sagging under their own dust. It should have screamed junk, move along. To Marla Quincy it whispered treasure. She arrived at the Marin County estate sale address, a low-slung ranch house huddled against redwood shadows, 15 minutes before dawn. Spiderwebs still glimmered with dew, and the air smelled of eucalyptus and brake dust from nearby US 101. Marla signed the clipboard that swung on a string by the garage door. She was number 4, and waited while the organizer, a moon-eyed UC Berkeley grad named Seamus, fumbled with padlocks. Vintage typewriters and army trunks, nothing more, Seamus recited, but he kept darting glances toward the back of the garage. Marla recognized the tell. He had peeked early and didn't know what he'd seen. Inside, the single bare bulb barely dented the gloom. Shards of morning light knifed through warped slats, striping the cement floor like a jail cell. Marla clicked on her headlamp and followed her compass. Toward paper. Paper has a smell, half almond, half attic dust. She found the hatch to the crawl attic wedged behind a tower of yellowed National Geographic. Off limits, Seamus warned, but Marla lifted one eyebrow the way only dealers can, slipped him a 20 and said, "I'll be 5 minutes. Liability's mine." Up the ladder she went, heart thumping louder than each rung's squeak. Above, rafters wore cobweb shawls, and fiberglass insulation glowed dull pink. She waved her light. Nothing. Almost nothing. In the far corner, a tube of heavy craft paper capped with a rotted rubber band. She freed it carefully. Aged rubber disintegrated in her palm like brown snow. Unrolling the onion skin proof felt like opening a reliquary. The sheet fluttered once, as though breathing in the sudden light, then lay flat. There, in bold uppercase type, "The Old Man and the Sea, Galley Proof, Finca Vigia, 1951. Marla's throat tightened. Typewriter ink still sat velvety on the translucent sheet. Mexican red pencil scrawls fought in the margins. Papa says tone too preachy, light and wave metaphors. The looping P and slanted A matched innumerable signed letters Marla had handled behind Sotheby's velvet ropes. Hemingway's hand, no question. The sheet even smelled faintly of stale Cohiba smoke and iron-rich Caribbean air, impossible yet undeniable. Her thumb shook so badly she nearly dropped her phone photographing the note. Madrid dealer? No. Too slow. Better to text Helena Cloth's confidential art insurance number directly. But while the phone still pulsed, "Sending!" A hand clamped her shoulder hard enough to bruise. Drina Rios, Gerald Meyer's live-in nurse, towered above the attic hatch like a thunderhead. Her ice-blue scrub seemed wrong amid attic detritus. Too clean, too clinical. "You shouldn't be here," she said in lightly accented English. "Buenos Aires," Marla guessed. "Family property." Marla tried her gentlest dealer's smile. "Of course. Let's discuss. I can ensure Mr. Meyer's heirs receive fair—" Drina snatched the galley, rolling it with practice speed. The paper sang a brittle protest. "I will keep this safe," she said, voice flat as dry earth. "Leave." And because she was 6 feet tall and carried herself like a retired fencer, scars on her forearm proved it. Marla obeyed. 48 hours later, Gerald Meyer died of a pulmonary embolism while his nurse was on a pharmacy run. By breakfast the next day, probate lawyer Daniel Rusk opened the safe deposit envelope and read Meyer's curt will, entire library to the National Steinbeck Center, except one Cuban galley kept in Mallorca safety deposit box for rightful heir dispute. The will listed 2 heirs, names nobody in Meyer's family recognized. Sebastia Cortez, Fumba Califat, fisherman, Solar Bay, claiming descent from Hemingway's Mallorcan cook. Adriana Cortez Serra, 31, adoption record sealed by Barcelona Provincial Court. Within 12 hours, thank you, time zones, both heirs filed mirrored injunctions in Palmer's Mercantile Court accusing the other of inheritance fraud. Hashtags number Hemingway. Hair hunters and number Galleygate bloomed like toxic algae across literary Twitter. The press especially loved a grainy photo of Mahler's half-blurred margin note, courtesy of an anonymous Reddit upload, probably Seamus chasing clicks. And in San Francisco's fog-washed Soma district, high above an indie coffee roastery, Blake and Associates' war room lights flicked on at 11:57 p.m. Helena Cloth, executive vice president of Lloyd Gallagher Fine Art Underwriters, was calling. She never called to chat. Scene 1. Fog and carbon ribbon. The loft smelled of solder smoke, cold pizza, and the marine layer funneled up Mission Street. On the projector wall, Helena Cloth's face appeared framed by a London dawn. Her silver hair lay perfect as poured mercury. Her icy grey eyes assessed the half-awake agents before she let herself speak. "We insure Finca Vigia's literary archives," she began, dispensing with hello. A genuine annotated galley of The Old Man and the Sea was once rumoured, never confirmed. At Sotheby's last year, a single Hemingway edited page fetched $1.3 million. A full proof in Papa's hand would start above 8 figures. That's why I'm paying your extortionate retainer. Dorian Blake, ex-Interpol provenance hunter, collector of rare coins, sometimes reluctant hero, leaned back until his chair creaked like rigging. "Who holds it now?" "Mallorcan bank vault. Spanish courts will freeze any export permit in 10 days once the competing heirs scream enough. We must establish authenticity and binder-level custody before that clock hits 0. Helena's gaze flicked sideways, perhaps scanning an off-screen report. "I believe a Franco-Argentine forger, Lucien Devereaux, has already contaminated the chain. He studied reverse engineering of ribbon strike pressure. He can mimic typewriter ghosts almost perfectly." On the whiteboard, Liu Zhang, cryptography savant, drone pilot, chronic insomniac, was already pinning printouts. Screenshot of Mahler's photo, metadata dissected. LinkedIn headshot of Drina Rios, former oncology nurse, Hospital Alemán, Buenos Aires, 8 years, then 2 years, traveling nursing in the Caribbean. A dark web thread from a handle Toro Rojo offering sea-worn galley W fresh provenance to private buyers in Houston and Dubai. Meera Patel, chemist and micropaleographer, squinted at the projected margin note. Red editing pencil, cross-sectional RMS hue values, track 2B Mongol, discontinued 1959. Ink fade, gradient fits 70-year lignin oxidation curve. This photo's resolution is trash, but my gut says legit. Clara Reyes slapped a Glock magazine into place, louder than perhaps necessary. And 2 rival heirs, 1 nurse, 1 darknet broker, plus a fancy forger. Fun weekend. Her resume read, Marine Corps anti-piracy detail, retired with commendation. Now she ran security for Blake and Associates, meaning she ensured everyone came home alive, or at least stitched up. Professor Giles Harrow appeared on a secondary screen, zooming from Cambridge at some ungodly hour. His oak-panelled study was lit only by desk lamp, turning him into a scholarly wraith. "Mind Majorcan property law," he warned, tap-tapping a pipe, though he'd quit smoking years earlier. "Intra-family claims can drag decades. Also, rumors placed Devereaux aboard a Montevideo yacht last month. He trades in aged carbon ribbons like most men trade in futures. Has an Argentine biotech contact who cultivates bacteria that mimic old paper scent. Blake flicked his bronze Hypatia drachma. Owl face up. Owl says wisdom, meaning move fast, think faster. Pack for 10 days, mild weather, possible gunfire. Leo, stuffing laptops into a pelican case, muttered, So, Tuesday. Scene 2. Enemies in the wings. While airline confirmation emails dinged, the team ran a lightning round of enemy IDs. Lucien Devereaux, 46, dual French-Argentine, studied forensic typography at the Sorbonne until expelled for experimental acquisitions. Speciality, calibrating antique typewriters with dental-grade silicone molds to replicate individual strike pressures. Last sale, falsified Virginia Woolf galleys to a Dubai prince. Interpol warrant outstanding. Catalina Serra de Perello, power attorney, whose smile once fronted a Catalan winery billboard before she pivoted to distressed asset law. Buys insolvent estates, flips rights to streaming platform docudramas, rumored to launder art for Medellin offshoot cartels, now representing Adriana Cortés. Toro Rojo, new darknet broker alias, suspected to be Drina Rios based on linguistic fingerprinting. Leo's algorithm flagged her use of lunfardo slang inconsistent with Castilian Spanish. Mira rubbed sleep from her eyes. If Rios is pushing the proof and nursing the old man, she's center of the spiderweb. Clara cracked her knuckles. I've dealt with forgers, launderers, and caregivers turned thieves, but all three in one tango? Fresh blood indeed. Scene 3. Mallorca arrival, old salt air, approximately 910 words. Spain unfurled below the Airbus like a patchwork of ochre quilt. By the time they cleared customs, a noon sun hammered Palma de Mallorca airport's tin roofs. Diesel fumes battled the tang of squeezed oranges from a tourist kiosk. A rented hybrid van wound them past magenta bougainvillea and sandstone fortifications to their temporary HQ, Finca del Marbre, a once grand villa sagging on a cliff above Solar Bay. Legend held Hemingway had rented a back bedroom there during a 1934 fishing spree. The town council owned it now. Peeling shutters and graffiti reading "Touristas go home" attested to budget neglect. Yet Finca del Marbre was perfect staging ground. Both heirs had chosen it for dueling press tours, hoping bricks and faded murals would whisper legitimacy. Sebastia's Day. Sebastia Cortez arrived on a weather-bleached Vespa, hair wind-whipped, laughter easy. Mid-50s, the sinew of a lifelong fisherman. He set up a folding table overlooking the bay, displaying a sepia photograph. Hemingway arm in arm with a young Mallorquina in kitchen whites, Lucia Calafat, Sebastia's grandmother, the alleged cook. He told anecdotes in Catalan. Blake translated quietly for the others. Papa teaching Lucia to measure rum by 2-second pour. Papa betting a full week's fish haul on who could spit farther into a storm. Reporters lapped it up. Mira ran a portable spectrograph over the photo, while Sebastia poured black coffee into chipped cups. The resin coating screamed late 1980s Kodak. A fake. Blake, ever the diplomat, did not expose him on the spot. Instead, he pressed, softly. If your grandmother received the galley, did she mention why Papa gave her something so valuable? Sebastia's gaze drifted to the sea. She said he wanted proof the mar, the sea, was not just words on a page. He asked her to hide it where salt could still taste the ink. Symbolic, Blake mused, but maybe true. Adriana's Day. 24 hours later, Serena white vans deposited Adriana Cortés Serra and her entourage. Adriana wore linen slacks the color of champagne foam, a silk blouse whisper-thin, and an heirloom emerald pendant that caught every sunbeam. At 20 minutes past the hour, Catalina Serra emerged behind her, all spine and lacquered hair, clutching a stack of document boxes. Adriana spoke flawless Castilian into hovering microphones. My great-uncle, Esteban Serra, sparred with Senor Hemingway. Boxing gloves, seaside veranda. He safeguarded Papa's literary effects during Franquismo years. This galley is our family's shared patrimony. She unveiled diary pages, neatly plastic-sleeved, dated 1951, referencing galley at Finca del Marbre. Mira's portable Raman spectroscope said the ink composition matched 1950s Schaefer script. Authentic? Possibly. Leo, however, spotted something uncanny. The F-loops in Finca and Fish, identical to Devereux's known forgeries. He had memorized them like a jazz riff. Clara leaned to Blake. We're watching a stage play, boss. Props are premium. Scene 4, Bank Vault Smoke. Monday, 7:45. Caixa Illa Bank, Central Palma, limestone columns festooned with tourist trap banners. Cloth's underwriters had cleared a 1-hour, eyes-only examination under notary supervision. A CCTV camera the size of a beetle tracked them through biometric doors into a sub-basement hallway that smelled of bleach and new money. Notary Dolores Vicence, spectacles chained around her neck, recited protocol. No ink pens, no flash photography, gloves compulsory, remove outer garments. Clara surrendered her Glock to a security locker. Blake parted with his drachma only when assured it, too, would be hermetically bagged. Vault 31C hissed open. Inside, a pine box lay on velvet foam. Mira peeled surgical tape. An aroma of stale Havana rum and linseed oil drifted out, as though the sheet had bottled Caribbean nights. The galley proof was gorgeous. Onion skin but barely yellowed, as if disciplined by low humidity. Papa's marginalia meandered from gentle edits, less sermon, more salt, to obscene encouragements aimed at characters and, possibly, the Atlantic itself. But something new marred page 4. 3 drops of liquid, dark garnet, beaded like syrup. Fresh. Clara's instincts flared. She touched her wrist scanner to the largest drop, 37 degrees Celsius, still warm. Impossible in a chilled vault. She dabbed a sterile swab. Hemoglobin reacted deep rust. Human blood, type B positive. The alarm klaxon was immediate and violent, decibels enough to rattle rib cages. Red lights stuttered, steel shutters descended, locking them inside razor-thin corridor between vault doors. Bank guards arrived because the system demands it, not because they were needed. Security footage plainly showed the foreigners entering moments before the sheet bled. To Palma police, moval motive practically spelt itself: sabotage to devalue the heirloom or stage theft insurance. An hour later, in the marble-floored lobby, Drina Rios materialized at the top of the central staircase. She watched the commotion below with the serenity of a saint admiring frescoes. When her gaze found Blake's, her lips curled north a single millimeter. A private joke neither had told yet. Scene 5. Subsidiary plots. Back at Finca del Marbre HQ, brains buzzed faster than espresso machines. Subplot A. Leo and cryptics. Using Tor exit node triangulation, Leo located Toro Rojo's upcoming PM. Transfer ribbons to Ink Matador. Port D'Andratex, sluice house, 0000 GPS, pinned it to an abandoned boathouse used by smugglers, shifting untaxed carver. Subplot B, Mira and mold. Mira cultured a sample from the vault blood on agar. Overnight growth exploded with a penicillin-producing Penicillium rubens strain known only in 2 Argentine biotech circles. One belonged to a Buenos Aires immunology lab where Drina Rios participated in a pilot study. Coincidence? Mira never believed in them. Subplot C, Clara and caves. Satellite passes. Leo bribed from an ESA contact revealed Adriana's property along the northwest coast owned a sea access cave, invisible from land, entrance submerged except at low tide. Heat signatures indicated frequent human activity. Generators, maybe lab freezers. Clara suspected arms stash or forgery workshop. Scene 6. Boathouse ambush. Midnight, through an iron-grey shimmer, across Port d'Andrac's water. Yachts bobbed like sleeping leviathans. Mast cables clinked a lullaby. The boathouse stood alone, corrugated roof crumpled, salt spray-eaten door hanging crooked. Dorian, clad in dark neoprene to blend with wharf shadows, signalled two inside, one lookout. Clara's suppressed sidearm pointed skyward, ready. Inside, Lucien Devereux hunched over a portable light table, diamond-file tracing grooves onto a royal quiet deluxe platen. Beside him, a slim woman in fisher beanie and shipping manifest overalls, Drina Rios, of course, counted aviation-grade aluminum tubes, aged carbon ribbons sealed under argon. Dorian edged closer, boots silent on rotting planks. He heard Lucien's silk-smooth French. Dos tubes for tu libertad, querida. With these, you could make Shakespeare resurrect himself. Drina produced a mahogany case. The galley was enough. Ribbons are insurance. From the shadows, Clara whispered, "Now." Dorian flicked a stun flash, flooding the room with white-hot light. Lucien dropped the platen, cursed in 3 languages, lunged for a flare gun by the door, and loosed a crimson comet. It ricocheted off a fuel drum, spraying ignition. Flames spiderwebbed across spilled diesel. Clara vaulted a keel, tackled Lucien. The Frenchman wriggled with eel finesse, but met Marine Corps joint locks. Crack! He howled. The flare gun clattered away. Drina bolted with the mahogany case, sprinting down a scaffold, vaulting onto a trawler deck with agility that proved years of parkour. Leo's drone, Kestrel 4, swooped, floodlight pinning her like a moth. She cursed, dropped a smoke pellet, vanished behind grey cloud. Dorian dragged Lucien to the dock police hut, cuffs cutting circulation. Under flickering sodium light, he conducted an impromptu interrogation, half good cop, half therapist. Lucien spat blood, but his arrogance bled faster. "I forged supplemental notes, yes, but the core document, real, monsieur. Pure Havana sun." "Who hired you?" Drina's name landed first, but not last. She moved units for Catalina Serra. Plan: plant blood to stall sale, devalue Sebastia's stock, let Adriana consolidate investors. Lucien smirked as if applauding an artful play. Blood samples? Family ties. Rios and Adriana share paternal DNA. Half-sisters, didn't you guess? Dorian pocketed that tidbit. "And you?" "Just the artist. Survive this. Maybe Monte Carlo next." He winked despite the dislocated shoulder. Dorian did not return the smile. "Monte Carlo's extradition to France is swift. Consider a safer canvas, like a prison wall." Scene 7. Cave of Contradictions. Coordinates from Kestrel 4 led to a serpentine road descending to an unmarked gate, barred by digital padlock. It was low tide, waves sucked against limestone teeth. Clara disabled the keypad with a dental mirror and conductance patch. They descended an ancient smuggler's staircase carved by Moorish hands, humidity turning steps to slippery moss. At sea level, they donned rebreathers and submerged, phosphorescent plankton swirling like starfields. The cave yawned ahead, mouth rimmed with razor barnacles. Inside, LED lanterns illuminated crates of careful horrors. Hemingway letters sealed in mylar, Cuban customs receipts dated 1951, bales of vintage onion skin, vials of tea-brown aging solution, and the pièce de résistance, a Royal Quiet Deluxe typewriter whose serial number 3X-178644 matched Papa's machine, stolen from Finca Vigía during a 2009 burglary. Mira ran cotton swabs across its keys. Chloride salts, recent submersion to mask fingerprints. No, perhaps a heavy-handed attempt to impart seaware. On a bench, half-finished duplicate galleys, Lucien's handiwork recognizable by over-generous bottom margin. Then came the click of stilettos on limestone. Catalina Serra appeared from a side passage, silhouette sharp against sodium uplight, nickel beretta leveled. 2 hired goons, shaved heads and diver wetsuits flanked her. Senor Blake, she purred, you trespass in private property. Amateur move. I prefer research expedition, Blake replied. She ignored the joke. Authenticity is narrative, nothing more. I have Hollywood buyers queuing for Hemingway true crime miniseries. All I need is your confirmation. Do that, and the blood evidence staining your reputation evaporates. Clara angled her flashlight beam, revealing Lucien's half-finished fakes. Your narrative needs new editors, Counselora. Sarah shrugged. Insurance claims, forged notes, dead old men. Audiences love layered truth, but my patience wears thinner than this cave roof. Behind Blake, Mira silently uncapped a vial of phenolphthalein aerosol. In oxygen, it bloomed pink. She counted to 3 and hurled it into the air. Nebulous rose mist swirled, confusing sightlines. Clara twisted a valve on her scuba tank. A hiss roared, imitating structural collapse. Goons panicked, glancing upward. Blake lunged, kicked the Beretta aside. A single shot ricocheted, sparking but mercifully echo-loud rather than flesh-loud. In 4 breathless seconds, the Blake team melted into water, resurfaced 50 meters outside the cave, crates lashed to inflatable sleds. Catalina screamed curses that reverberated like doomed gulls. Scene 8. Ink dating and bloodlines. Hotel Sangre's penthouse transformed into forensic lab. Portable XRF scanner hummed, chemical flasks colonized the minibar. Mira's carbon-age test placed the onion skin paper's cellulose at 1950 plus or minus 2 years, dead match to Finca Vigia stock logs. But spectral deconvolution revealed something deeper. 2 red pencil hardnesses. Original 2B lines overlapped by recent HB imitations, a Devereux hallmark of tone continuity. By multispectral subtraction, Mira exposed buried strokes. At bottom margin, Papa had written, "Give galley to MR if C takes me." Initials MR, Mary Welch Hemingway, his 4th wife, not any Mallorcan cook's kid. Why had he reconsidered? Professor Harrow, looped in via encrypted call, recalled a 1952 letter where Papa mentioned Mallorcan cook's boy, courier by wave when air grows heavy. Cook's boy, likely Lucia's teenage son. That aligned with Sebastia more than Adriana. Meanwhile, Leo compared vault blood DNA to hairbrush samples pilfered from Adriana's dressing room, Clara's improvisation. STR markers overlapped 50%, half-siblings indeed. Drina sabotaged the proof to stall for her sister, splitting profits later. Family drama worthy of Garcia Marquez, Mira mused, sealing slides. Scene 9, Courtroom Thunder. Palmer's Cultural Tribunal occupied a Baroque courthouse whose frescoed ceiling depicted St. George slaying a distinctly surprised dragon. Reporters packed wooden pews. Camera drones buzzed like hornets. Catalina Serra opened with outrage performance art. This galley bears criminal contaminants introduced by Blake mercenaries. My client's heritage faces defilement. Cloth's counsel, Alberta Ung, countered with measured ice. Crates from the cave, chain of custody receipts, export permit irregularities. When Leo projected a 3D time-lapse stratigraphy of pencil strokes, HB commandeering 2B, the room gasped. Even the dragon in the fresco seemed to recoil. Mira testified on penicillin spores unique to Drina's Argentine lab. Clara slid an Interpol dossier onto the judge's dais. Sarah's shell companies funneled Basquiat forgeries to a cartel ledger in Santiago. Judge Montserrat Aloma, a stooped woman who treasured poetry and despised frauds, asked but one question. Qui va écrire la vérité? Who wrote the truth? Sebastia produced a reliquary box, his grandmother's diary, exhumed from a cedar chest. Inside, coarse braids of Lucia's hair slickened with lanolin, plus a parchment note. Papa says the sea belongs to all. Keep his story safe, but share it one day. DNA from the braid matched Sebastia 99.4%. After recess, the gavel fell. Provisional custody awarded to Sebastia Cortes. Condition: the galley must exit Spain within 24 hours for neutral Cambridge conservation. Appeal rights reserved but unlikely to succeed absent new evidence. Catalina's jaw worked sour lemons. Adriana looked neither relieved nor furious, only calculating. Drina Rios sat in gallery row, stony, a ghost between headlines. Scene 10. Fresh blood, final ink. Night draped Palmer in copper lamplight. At the temporary conservation lab, the galley lay inside a climate-controlled case, guarded by two ex-Gurkhas cloth flew in. Still, Blake trusted human foresight more than locks. 1:30, motion sensors pinged. Sledgehammer men in ski masks burst glass doors. They neutralized Gurkhas with tasers, non-lethal, professional. They seized the climate case, fled in a nondescript Peugeot. 1 kilometer north on Avenida de Portugal, a delivery van idled. Sarah herself sat passenger seat, barking into a satellite phone. Package acquired, wheels up for Doha at 4:30 a.m. Inside the case? Mira's brilliant facsimile, ink-jetted onto 1950s onion skin from Lucian's surplus, blood-stained for tasteful flair. The real galley snuggled in a UK diplomatic pouch aboard an RAF jet at Son Sant Joan Air Base, Clara shepherding. Sarah eventually discovered the ruse on private tarmac. Her primal scream curved across the runway, scattering gulls. She pivoted, vowing salvage. The stolen Hemingway typewriter still resided in her luggage. Unbeknownst to her, phenolphthalein residue Mira sprayed earlier reacted to ammonium salts. Doha customs dogs key to that odor flagged her case. Qatari authorities arrested her for trafficking cultural property. Interpol red notice ensured extradition to Spain. Drina Rios melted from Mallorca that same dawn, last seen boarding a rust-streaked freighter bound for Montevideo, carrying Lucian's encrypted external drives and possibly an embryonic novel forged in Papa's voice. Epilogue: Word, Wave, and Will. Cambridge University Library's climate vault rests beneath 19th-century arches smelling of chalk and secrets. Inside, Professor Harrow, donning white gloves, supervised desalination of the galley. Minute salt crystals popped under magnification. Stabilization baths leached acid. Humidors breathed precisely 45% relative humidity. On day 3, a final hidden margin reveal appeared. Faint fish sketch, Marlin's lance curved, beneath which Hemingway scribbled, "To the children of the sea who feed us, keep this truth." Pundits debated intent. Some argued philanthropic pledge to Mallorcan fishermen. Others believed Papa intended the sheet as private reassurance to Mary. Either way, Sebastia announced he would place the original galley in trust, jointly managed by Cambridge and a new Solar Maritime Museum, where a high-fidelity replica would hang amid nets and salt. Cloth's underwriters audited the risk, sighed collective relief, and issued the highest bound rider ever written for a single literary leaf. Back in Soma, foghorns moaned as Dorian shelved a gleaming facsimile beside a salt-stained cooklog and a ghost-margin treatise from Athanasius Kircher. Clara mounted the decommissioned Beretta on their wall of unpaid debts next to a Somali cutlass and a bullet flattened at Tsingming Pass. Leo monitored an Argentine subnet for amusement. 3 nights later, a new alias, Red Scribe, pinged his honeypot forum, advertising lost Nabokov index cards ethically sourced. The cat and mouse would continue. Neither predator truly wants the game to end. When the day's reports were filed and the city's neon brews bled into the bay, Mira uncorked Rioja, poured 4 glasses. "Faded ink," she toasted, "but the blood's still fresh." Dorian flipped the Hypatia drachma, owl side up, wisdom vigilant. The fog outside thickened, but inside the loft stories surged, eager to carve new margins.